The silver ships appeared in Earth's outer system, like deadly flowers blooming in the void. Admiral Kyle Morrison watched them through the main display at Luna Base and felt his stomach turn cold. 17 star systems had fallen to these aliens in the past 10 years, and now they had come for Earth. The Zephyrian hegemony ships were beautiful in a terrible way. Their hulls looked like carved crystal that caught starlight and threw it back in rainbow patterns. Each vessel was massive, some stretching over 3 kilometers from bow to stern. They moved with perfect formation through space, silent and deadly as hunting sharks. Morrison had been waiting for this day for 23 years. Ever since the first alien contact, when a damaged Zephyrian scout ship had crashed on Titan, humanity had known this moment would come. The aliens had tried to destroy all evidence of their presence, but they had failed. Human salvage teams had recovered enough technology and data to understand what was coming. The Zephyrian ultimatum had arrived 3 days ago on all frequencies. The message was simple and clear in its cold efficiency. Surrender all military assets immediately. Submit to hegemony rule without resistance. Accept occupation and integration into their empire. The alternative was complete annihilation of all human life. Other species had received the same message. The records recovered from the Titan crash showed how 17 different civilizations had faced this choice. Some had fought with conventional weapons and been destroyed in days. Others had surrendered immediately and were now slave worlds in the Zephyrian Empire. None had found a third option, but humanity had spent 2 decades preparing for exactly this scenario. Dr. Lisa Grant entered the command center carrying a sealed briefcase. Her face was pale but determined. She had aged 10 years in the past 3 days since the alien fleet arrived. As head of Project Obsidian, she carried more responsibility than any human in history. "The fleet is ready, Admiral," she said quietly. "All 12 dreadnoughts are equipped and standing by. The captains have their sealed orders, and the crews have completed final preparations." Morrison nodded. 12 ships against over 200 alien vessels. It should have been suicide, but Morrison had seen the test results. He had watched the prototype vessels perform maneuvers that defied everything humanity thought they knew about space combat. If the full fleet performed as designed, the Zephyrians were about to receive the shock of their existence. The alien fleet hung in space, just beyond the orbit of Neptune. They made no attempt to hide their presence or protect themselves from observation. Why would they? Every species they had encountered possessed technology centuries behind their own. Their crystal hulls could deflect any known energy weapon, and their dark matter power cores provided unlimited energy for shields and weapons. Captain Alex Stone stood on the bridge of the ESV Nightfall and reviewed his orders one final time. Like the other 11 ship commanders, he had trained for years without knowing the true nature of their vessels. The official records listed them as experimental deep space exploration ships. The reality was far more complex and dangerous. Nightfall looked like a standard human warship from the outside. 2 kilometers of sleek metal hull bristling with conventional weapons and sensor arrays. But appearances were deceiving. Beneath the outer skin lay technology that humanity had developed by combining recovered alien systems with their own desperate innovation. The obsidian coating was invisible to outside observation. It covered every surface of the ship like a second skin made from materials found in Earth's deepest ocean trenches. Combined with quantum-engineered systems reverse-engineered from the Titan wreck, it gave human ships capabilities that no alien species had ever encountered. Stone's tactical Officer Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster completed the final system checks. Every display showed green across all departments. The ship's fusion reactors were running at optimal efficiency. The Obsidian systems were fully charged and responding to neural command interfaces. Most importantly, The quantum disruption cannons were ready to fire. All stations report ready, Captain, Foster announced. We can begin operations on your command. Stone nodded, but kept his eyes on the main display. The alien fleet was moving into final attack position. Their formation was perfect, designed to deliver maximum firepower while protecting their command. Ships. It was a formation that had conquered 17 star systems without significant loss. On Earth below, President Maria Santos stood in the Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors and world leaders. Every screen showed different aspects of the alien fleet. Satellite feeds revealed the massive scale of the Zephyrian ships. Radio intercepts provided constant updates on their communications. Deep space sensors tracked their energy signatures and movement patterns. "How much time do we have?" Santos asked. General Patricia Hayes checked her chronometer. 6 hours and 12 minutes until their deadline expires, Madam President. Our intelligence suggests they will begin their attack immediately. After that time, Santos had been briefed on Project Obsidian 3 years ago when she first took office. The scope and audacity of the plan had left her speechless. Humanity was betting everything on technology they barely understood, using weapons that existed at the very edge of theoretical physics. "Send the final message to all fleet commanders," Santos ordered. "Operation Dark Storm is authorized." God help us all. The message went out on quantum-encrypted channels to all 12 Obsidian ships. Across the solar system, human captains received their final authorization codes. Systems that had been dormant for months began to activate. The Obsidian hulls started their transformation sequence, shifting from passive coding to active weapons. Platform. Morrison watched the countdown timer reach 0. At exactly 14:30 Earth Standard Time, the Zephyrian fleet transmitted their final demand for surrender. The aliens expected a response within the hour. They expected either immediate capitulation or desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, they received something that no alien species had ever sent before. Santos stepped up to the communication array and activated the broad-spectrum transmitter. Her voice would reach every ship in the system, human and alien alike. History would judge her words for centuries to come. To the Zephyrian hegemony, this is President Maria Santos of the United Earth Government. We have received your ultimatum, and we have prepared our response. The alien fleet maintained perfect formation as they waited for the expected surrender. Their sensors detected no significant human military presence. Earth's conventional navy consisted of a few dozen outdated patrol ships and orbital defense platforms. Against Zephyrian technology, they were less than insignificant. Earth has faced extinction before, Santos continued. We have survived ice ages and asteroid impacts, plagues and wars that nearly destroyed our civilization. We have learned that survival requires more than hope. It requires preparation and the will to fight for our future. The Zephyrian fleet commander began charging weapon systems. Surrender or destruction. The choice was simple. Humans would learn what every other species had discovered too late. You expected us to kneel, Santos said, her voice carrying across space to reach every listener in the system. You expected us to surrender our freedom and accept slavery. You expected us to follow the pattern of every other species you have conquered. The countdown timer on Morrison's display reached the final seconds. Across the solar system, 12 Obsidian ships began their activation sequence. Dark hulls that had been invisible to sensors started to shift and flow like liquid metal. Quantum systems that existed partially outside normal spacetime came online with a sound like reality tearing. You were wrong, Santos declared. Earth does not kneel. Earth does not surrender. Earth fights. The transmission ended and space around. Earth erupted into violence as humanity revealed its true nature to the galaxy. The moment President Santos finished speaking, Space itself seemed to hold its breath. The Zephyrian fleet hung motionless in perfect formation, their crystal hulls gleaming with reflected starlight. Admiral Vex Korath, commander of the invasion force, felt something he had not experienced in 3 decades of conquest. Confusion. No species had ever responded to the ultimatum with defiance. The pattern was always the same. First came desperate negotiations, then frantic attempts to buy time, finally tearful surrender or futile resistance with primitive weapons. Earth's response was unprecedented in hegemony records. Vex Korath activated his command frequencies to address the human leadership directly. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority, modulated by his species' natural harmonic resonance that had intimidated countless alien races. Humans of Earth, you have made an error in judgment. We offer one final opportunity for rational surrender. You possess no weapons capable of threatening our vessels. Your resistance will only ensure your complete extinction. The reply came not from Earth's surface, but from somewhere in the darkness between the planets. A new voice, cold and determined, spoke on frequencies that should have been impossible for human technology to access. Zephyrian Fleet, this is Admiral Kyle Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. Your invasion has been anticipated and prepared for. You are ordered to withdraw from our system immediately, or face the consequences. Vex Korath's secondary brain calculated the impossible mathematics of the situation. Human technology was centuries behind Zephyrian advancement. Their crude fusion, rockets and chemical projectiles were museum pieces compared to dark matter propulsion and crystalline armor systems. Yet something in the human admiral's tone suggested knowledge and preparation. Activate deep scans. Vex Korath ordered his sensor operators. Locate all human military assets. I want a complete tactical analysis within the next 60 seconds. The results came back, showing exactly what hegemony intelligence had predicted. A few dozen patrol vessels scattered throughout the inner system. Several orbital defense platforms around Earth that posed no significant threat. Some mining installations on the outer planets that could be destroyed as afterthoughts. No hidden fleets. No massive weapon systems. No technological surprises. Vex Korath prepared to order the attack when his senior sensor technician reported an anomaly. Admiral, we are detecting unusual gravitational fluctuations near the third planet's satellite. The patterns are inconsistent with any known natural phenomena. Before Vex Korath could respond, space around Luna began to change. The darkness itself seemed to flow and shift like liquid shadow. Shapes emerged from the void where sensors had detected nothing moments before. Massive forms that absorbed light instead of reflecting it, creating holes in space that hurt to look at directly. 12 ships rose from the lunar far side, where they had waited in perfect concealment. Each vessel was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers in length and bristling with weapon systems that defied easy categorization. Their hulls were not metal or crystal, but something that seemed to exist partially outside normal space. Captain Alex Stone felt the Nightfall respond to his neural commands as the Obsidian systems came fully online. The ship's hull flowed like living tissue, reshaping itself from a conventional starship configuration into something far more deadly. Weapon ports opened and closed like breathing pores. Sensor arrays extended and retracted as the ship optimized itself for combat. The Obsidian coating was more than advanced armor. It was a quantum-engineered symbiosis between human technology and materials that had been growing in Earth's deep ocean trenches for millions of years. The combination created possibilities that existed at the very edge of known physics. All systems are responding perfectly, Captain, reported his tactical officer. The quantum disruption cannons are charged and ready. Obsidian hull is operating at full efficiency. We are ready to engage. Stone opened a channel to the other 11 ships. Each captain reported similar status. After 20 years of development and 5 years of training, humanity's secret fleet was ready for its first and possibly final battle. Remember your training, Stone transmitted to all ships. The enemy has never faced our technology before. Use that advantage. Make every shot count. Earth is depending on us. The Zephyrian fleet began to maneuver in response to the human vessels. Vex Korath had commanded successful invasions against species with far more advanced technology than these primitive humans appeared to possess. 12 ships against 200 was not even a fair fight. All vessels prepare for immediate attack, he ordered. Destroy the human fleet quickly and completely. Show them the price of defiance. The first Zephyrian barrage came from 50 ships. Simultaneously, coherent energy beams that could melt through kilometer-thick asteroid hulls focused on the human fleet. The crystal ships had never encountered shields or armor that could withstand such concentrated firepower. The beams struck the obsidian hulls and simply disappeared. Captain Sarah Blake watched from the bridge of the ESV Void Reaper as enemy fire washed over her ship like harmless light. The obsidian coating absorbed the energy and channeled it into the ship's power systems. Instead of being damaged, her vessel actually grew stronger with each attack. Incredible, whispered her science. Officer Dr. Lisa Grant, who had transferred to Blake's ship to observe the obsidian systems in combat. The energy absorption is exceeding all theoretical predictions. We could sustain this bombardment indefinitely. Blake smiled grimly. Then let's show them what happens when they feed a hungry ship. All weapons, target the lead crystal vessel. Fire at will. The Void Reaper's quantum disruption cannons unleashed beams of exotic matter that operated on entirely different physical principles than conventional energy weapons. Instead of heating or melting the target, they disrupted the quantum bonds that held matter together at the subatomic level. The Zephyrian flagship's crystal armor, designed to deflect and absorb energy attacks, began to collapse in on itself. Sections of hull simply ceased to exist as their atomic structure unraveled. The massive vessel, pride of the hegemony fleet, broke apart like a soap bubble. Vex Korath felt his ship dying around him and experienced terror for the first time in his military career. The humans possessed weapons that ignored every known defense. Their ships absorbed attack energy and converted it to power their own systems. This was not the primitive resistance the hegemony had expected. All ships, retreat to safe distance, he commanded desperately. Reform defensive positions. Request immediate reinforcement from the outer colonies. But the human fleet was not finished demonstrating their capabilities. Commander Jake Phillips piloted the ESV Shadow Strike through a maneuver that should have been impossible. His ship's obsidian hull shifted density and configuration, allowing the vessel to exist partially in normal space and partially in subspace dimensions. The Shadow Strike appeared to fold itself through reality, emerging behind the Zephyrian formation. Where their shields were weakest, Phillips targeted 3 crystal ships simultaneously with weapons that fired coherent streams of dark matter. The alien vessels, caught completely unprepared for attack from multiple dimensions, exploded in brilliant flashes of released energy. The battle continued for another 30 minutes before Vex Korath finally accepted the impossible truth. His fleet of 200 advanced warships was being systematically destroyed by 12 human vessels using technology that redefined the possibilities of space combat. Send emergency transmission to Hegemony Command, he ordered as another of. His ships vanished in quantum fire. The humans are not what they appear to be. They possess advanced technology of unknown origin. Request immediate deployment of Starbreaker fleet, but the transmission would take weeks to reach Zephyrian space. And Vex Korath was beginning to doubt whether any of his ships would survive that long. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been preparing for this day for over 20 years, and their preparation had been thorough beyond alien comprehension. Earth's children had grown up in the shadow of inevitable invasion, and they had spent every day becoming stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. The Zephyrian hegemony had expected another easy conquest, but instead they had awakened something that would change the balance of galactic power forever. The hyperspace gates around Neptune began to activate as Zephyrian reinforcements arrived in waves. Admiral Vex Korath had managed to send his desperate request for additional ships before the human fleet could prevent the transmission. Now the Sol system was filling with alien vessels as the hegemony committed serious resources to what should have been a simple conquest. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical display from Luna Base as enemy ship counts climbed past 300. Each new arrival was larger and more heavily armed than the previous waves. The Zephyrians were no longer treating Earth as a minor obstacle, but as a genuine threat that required overwhelming force to eliminate. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures from the newest arrivals," reported his sensor operator. "These vessels are significantly more advanced than the initial invasion fleet. Some of them are registering as Dreadnought class with armament. That could destroy entire moons." Morrison felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. 12 human ships against an ever-growing alien armada. The Obsidian fleet had performed beyond all expectations in the initial engagement, but they were now facing odds that would test the limits of their revolutionary technology. Dr. Lisa Grant worked frantically in her mobile laboratory aboard the command ship. The Obsidian systems were generating performance data that exceeded every theoretical model she had developed. But she was also detecting concerning patterns in the alien response. Protocols. "Admiral, the Zephyrians are adapting their tactics faster than we anticipated," she reported over the communication link. "Their latest ships are equipped with sensors specifically designed to penetrate quantum distortion fields. They are learning to counter our stealth capabilities." The battle had spread throughout the solar system as both sides maneuvered for advantage. Captain Stone found his ESV Nightfall engaged near Shur, Jupiter's moons, with a Zephyrian heavy cruiser that had been specifically equipped to hunt human vessels. The alien ship was beautiful and deadly, its crystal hull shaped like a massive blade that cut through space with predatory grace. It carried weapons designed to disrupt quantum fields and armor that could absorb exotic matter attacks. The hegemony had learned from their initial defeats and was deploying countermeasures. "Target is matching our speed and maneuverability," reported Stone's tactical officer. "Their new shielding is deflecting approximately 60% of our quantum disruption beam effectiveness. We are dealing with an opponent designed specifically to fight our technology." Stone smiled grimly. The aliens were adaptive, but they still did not understand the true nature of Obsidian hull systems. "Initiate hull reconfiguration protocol 7. Let's show them something they have not seen before." The Nightfall began to change shape in ways that defied conventional understanding of solid matter. The obsidian coating flowed like liquid metal, reshaping the entire vessel from a single large ship into 17 smaller craft connected by streams of quantum-coherent material. Each module could operate independently while sharing power and sensor data with the collective whole. The Zephyrian cruiser found itself facing not one target, but 17 that attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. Its advanced shields could handle concentrated fire from a single source, but were overwhelmed by the distributed assault pattern that human ships could achieve through hull reconfiguration. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster led his fighter squadron through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His pilots flew small craft that were essentially miniaturized versions of the Obsidian technology, capable of phasing partially out of normal space to avoid enemy fire while delivering concentrated attacks against weak points in alien formations. "Blue Squadron, form up for dimensional strike pattern," Foster commanded. We are going to hit that command ship from angles that do not exist in normal geometry. The human fighters seemed to flicker in and out of existence as they activated their phase shift systems. They could exist partially in subspace while maintaining the ability to fire weapons into normal dimensional framework. The effect was devastating against enemies who had never encountered such tactics. Foster's squadron appeared inside the Zephyrian command ship's shield perimeter, their small craft having passed through the protective barriers like ghosts walking through walls. The concentrated firepower of 24 quantum disruption fighters tore through crystal armor that had been designed to withstand capital ship weapons. Captain Sarah Blake commanded the ESV Void Reaper in a running battle with 3 alien dreadnoughts near Saturn's rings. Her ship had absorbed so much enemy fire that its power systems were operating at 200% of rated capacity. The obsidian hull glowed with absorbed energy, making the vessel look like a black star against the cosmic background. Captain, we are detecting massive power buildup in the lead enemy vessel, reported her weapons officer. They appear to be charging some kind of planet-killer weapon. Energy signature suggests it could crack a moon. Blake had been waiting for this moment. The Zephyrians were about to learn why humanity had chosen Obsidian as the foundation of their space combat technology. All power to forward hull sections. Configure for maximum absorption and redirection. We are going to catch that beam and throw it back at them. The alien dreadnought fired a coherent energy stream that could have boiled Earth's oceans. The beam struck the Void Reaper's obsidian hull and was absorbed completely, its massive energy. Content channeled into the ship's quantum storage matrices. For 30 seconds, Blake's vessel contained enough power to run a major city. Then she released it all at once. The redirected energy beam struck the Zephyrian dreadnought with its own power amplified by human quantum enhancement systems. The massive alien ship simply vaporized, its crystal structure unable to withstand the focused output of its own planet-killer weapon. On Earth below, President Santos coordinated with military commanders around the globe as civilian populations worked to support the space battle. Every major city had revealed hidden manufacturing facilities that produced Obsidian technology components. The material required complex processing that combined deep-sea organisms with quantum-engineered carbon structures. Madam President, our production facilities are operating at maximum capacity, reported General Hayes. We can maintain current fleet operations indefinitely, but we do not have the resources to expand our forces significantly during active combat. Santos nodded as she watched tactical displays showing the expanding battle. Humanity was holding its own against impossible odds, but the Zephyrians seemed to have unlimited reinforcements. Each wave of enemy ships was larger and better equipped than the previous ones. What about the hidden installations? She asked. Are our secondary assets ready for deployment? Hayes smiled for the first time in days. Yes, Madam President. The mining colonies on Titan have just revealed their true nature. The research stations orbiting Neptune are coming online, and the deep space monitoring arrays have activated their offensive capabilities across the solar system. Installations that had appeared to be civilian facilities for decades suddenly revealed their military purpose. The mining operation on Titan was actually a massive railgun complex capable of launching tungsten projectiles at significant percentages of light speed. The Neptune research stations were quantum computer arrays that could calculate enemy movement patterns and predict tactical decisions with frightening accuracy. But the greatest surprise was yet to come. Admiral Morrison activated a communication channel that reached every human vessel and installation in the system. All ships and stations, this is Admiral Morrison. Operation Dark Storm has exceeded all expectations, but we are facing escalating enemy commitment. It is time to reveal our final capabilities deep in the asteroid belt, objects that had been catalogued as mining platforms for over 30 years, began to move under their own power. They were not civilian installations, but weapons platforms disguised as industrial equipment. Each one carried firepower equivalent to a battle cruiser and armor systems based on the same Obsidian technology as the fleet. The Zephyrin reinforcements found themselves facing not just 12 impossible human ships, but an entire solar system that had been converted into a weapon. Every asteroid, every satellite, every apparently peaceful installation had been prepared for this moment. The galaxy was about to learn that when humanity prepared for war, they did not build armies. They built entire civilizations dedicated to the art of survival through superior firepower. The fourth day of combat found Admiral Vex Korath staring at tactical displays that showed casualty reports beyond his worst nightmares. The Zephyrian hegemony had committed over 400 ships to the Sol system and was losing vessels faster than reinforcements could arrive. The humans were not just fighting back. They were winning. Commander Jake Phillips guided his ESV Shadow Strike through a debris field that had once been a Zephyrian battle group. The Obsidian hull systems had evolved during combat, learning from each engagement and developing new capabilities that even Dr. Grant had not anticipated. His ship could now absorb not just energy weapons, but physical projectiles, converting kinetic impact into usable power. "Captain, we are detecting another reinforcement wave approaching through hyperspace," reported his sensor operator. 37 vessels, including at least 6 super dreadnoughts. "The hegemony is escalating again." Phillips nodded grimly. Each wave brought larger and more dangerous ships as the aliens committed their core fleet elements to what had become the largest space battle in galactic history. But humanity was revealing capabilities that no intelligence report had predicted. "Signal Admiral Morrison that we are ready to test the new configuration protocols," Phillips commanded. "It is time to show the hegemony what human ships can really." The Obsidian technology had been based on materials that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Dr. Grant's team had discovered that these materials could be programmed to exist in multiple dimensional frameworks simultaneously, allowing possibilities that redefine the nature of space combat. Captain Stone received confirmation from Luna, base to proceed with experimental tactics. His ESV Nightfall began a transformation that would have been impossible with conventional technology. The Obsidian hull shifted from solid matter to quantum probability, existing as mathematical potential rather than physical reality. The ship flickered in and out of visible existence while maintaining full combat effectiveness. Enemy sensors could not lock onto a target that existed only as probability waves until the moment it fired weapons. Stone's vessel had become a ghost that could strike from dimensions the Zephyrians could not even perceive. On Earth below, the massive industrial complexes that had been disguised as civilian manufacturing for 3 decades were operating at maximum capacity. The Obsidian material required processing techniques that combined biology, quantum physics, and engineering approaches that pushed the limits of human understanding. Dr. Lisa Grant coordinated research efforts from her mobile laboratory while monitoring combat performance data that exceeded every theoretical prediction. The symbiotic relationship between human technology and the deep ocean organisms was producing capabilities that evolved in real time during battle conditions. "Admiral Morrison, we are seeing adaptation rates that suggest the Obsidian systems are actually learning from combat experience," she reported. "Each ship is becoming more effective with every engagement. The material appears to have some form of distributed intelligence." Morrison studied reports from across the solar system as the battle expanded to include every inhabited body, from Mercury to Pluto. The hidden weapon platforms were revealing themselves in coordinated waves, creating a defensive network that had been 40 years in the making. "Doctor, what is our maximum sustainable engagement level?" he asked. The hegemony seems prepared to commit their entire core fleet to this system. Grant checked her latest calculations. Theoretically, unlimited, Admiral. The Obsidian systems are self-sustaining and actually grow stronger through combat exposure. But we are approaching the limits of our human crews. Our people have been in continuous combat for 4 days. The fatigue factor was becoming critical. Human reflexes and decision-making capabilities were degrading after days of intense space combat. But the Zephyrian crews were experiencing similar problems, and their losses were far more severe. Captain Blake commanded the ESV Void Reaper in an engagement with a Zephyrian super dreadnought that carried enough firepower to sterilize a planet. Her ship had absorbed so much enemy energy that it was operating at power levels that should have been impossible for any vessel to contain. Captain, the Obsidian hull is showing structural modifications that were not in the original design specifications, reported her engineering officer. The material appears to be upgrading itself based on combat requirements. Blake watched as her ship's hull developed new weapon ports and defensive systems without any input from human engineering. The Obsidian coding was evolving in real time, adapting to threats and developing countermeasures faster than any programmed system could achieve. All weapons focus fire on that super dreadnought's main reactor housing, she commanded. Let's see how they handle quantum disruption at maximum intensity. The combined firepower of 12 human ships had been concentrated against individual targets throughout the battle. But now the Obsidian vessels were demonstrating the ability to link their systems together, creating temporary networks that multiplied their effectiveness exponentially. The Void Reaper, Nightfall, and Shadowstrike formed a combat triangle around the massive Zephyrian vessel. Their obsidian hulls extended connecting streams of quantum-coherent material that allowed them to share power, sensor data, and targeting information instantaneously. The super dreadnought found itself facing what appeared to be a single enormous ship with the combined capabilities of multiple vessels. Its shields, designed to handle concentrated fire from one source, collapsed under distributed attacks that came from every direction simultaneously. Lieutenant Commander Foster led his fighter squadron in the most audacious attack of the war. His target was the Zephyrian Fleet Command Ship, a massive vessel that coordinated enemy operations across the entire solar system. The ship was protected by layers of shields and surrounded by escort vessels, but Foster had developed tactics that ignored conventional defense systems. Blue Squadron, activate maximum phase shift, he commanded. We are going to attack from inside their command structure. The human fighters shifted completely to subspace dimensions, becoming invisible to normal sensors, while maintaining the ability to observe and target enemies in regular space. They flew through the Zephyrian command ship's hull as if it were empty vacuum, emerging in critical system areas where their weapons could do maximum damage. The attack destroyed the alien fleet's central coordination capabilities and left their forces operating independently without unified command. The tactical advantage shifted decisively toward humanity as Zephyrian ships began making uncoordinated decisions that human commanders could predict and counter. President Santos received updates from around the globe as Earth's hidden military infrastructure revealed its full scope. Every major city contained production facilities for Obsidian technology. Every satellite system included weapons platforms. Every deep space installation had been designed with defensive capabilities that were now coming online. Madam President, we are receiving surrender requests from individual Zephyrian ships, reported General Hayes. Their fleet cohesion is breaking down as they realize they cannot win this engagement. Santos felt a mixture of relief and determination. Humanity had survived the impossible, but the war was not over. The hegemony still controlled 17 star systems and possessed resources that dwarfed Earth's capabilities. This victory would only buy time to prepare for the larger conflict ahead. Accept surrenders only from vessels that power down completely and submit to boarding, she ordered. We need prisoners and intelligence about hegemony capabilities. This battle may be ending, but the war is just beginning. Admiral Morrison coordinated the final phase of the engagement as Zephyrian resistance collapsed across the solar system. The Obsidian fleet had not just defeated a superior enemy force. They had redefined the possibilities of space combat through technology that existed at the intersection of physics and biology. All ships, begin recovery operations, he commanded. Secure prisoners, salvage alien technology, and prepare for possible counterattack. The galaxy now knows that Earth will not surrender quietly. The tide had turned decisively, but Morrison understood that humanity had revealed their capabilities to enemies who would not make the same mistakes twice. The next Zephyrian assault would come prepared for Obsidian technology and human tactics. Earth needed to be ready for an even more dangerous conflict ahead. The final assault began when Captain Stone achieved something that military strategists had considered impossible. His ESV Nightfall successfully captured a Zephyrian command vessel intact while preserving its crew and critical systems. The Obsidian HFY had surrounded the alien ship like a living cocoon, penetrating its defenses from the inside while maintaining structural integrity. Admiral Vex Korath found himself imprisoned aboard his own flagship as human boarding parties secured every deck. The crystal walls that had protected Zephyrian crews for centuries offered no defense against soldiers who could phase through solid matter using personal Obsidian equipment. Dr. Lisa Grant arrived on the captured vessel within hours, accompanied by teams of xenobiologists and computer specialists. The intact Zephyrian command systems represented the greatest intelligence opportunity in human history. Every file, every communication record, every tactical database was now available for analysis. Admiral Morrison, you need to see this immediately. Grant transmitted from the alien ship. We have accessed their strategic communication network. The data includes fleet positions, supply lines, and coordination protocols for the entire hegemony empire. Morrison felt the implications settling over him like a revelation. Humanity now possessed complete intelligence about enemy operations across 17 star systems. More importantly, they had gained access to Zephyrian hyperspace, communication frequencies that could reach anywhere in known galactic space. The captured data revealed the true scope of the hegemony's empire and its critical vulnerabilities. The aliens ruled through technological superiority and centralized coordination. Their subject species had been conquered so completely that they no longer possessed independent military capabilities. The entire system depended on Zephyrian control. Remaining absolute and unquestioned, Commander Phillips coordinated the systematic destruction of remaining enemy vessels throughout the solar system. The Zephyrian fleet that had arrived to conquer Earth was now trapped, cut off from reinforcements and facing opponents who understood their technology better than they understood human capabilities. The Obsidian ships had evolved during 5 days of continuous combat. Each vessel now possessed capabilities that exceeded original design specifications by orders of magnitude. The symbiotic relationship between human engineering and deep ocean organisms had produced technology that adapted and improved through use. Captain Blake led the final coordinated attack against the last concentration of enemy resistance near Jupiter's moons. 43 Zephyrian ships had formed a defensive cluster around the remaining command vessel, hoping to hold out until reinforcements could arrive from the outer colonies. All ships implement final assault configuration, Blake transmitted to the Obsidian fleet. We end this now. The 12 human vessels began a maneuver that demonstrated the ultimate capability of their revolutionary technology. Their Obsidian hulls extended connecting streams of quantum-coherent material that linked every ship into a single enormous entity. Spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers, the combined vessel possessed the firepower and defensive capabilities of the entire fleet, concentrated into coordinated systems that could focus their output with surgical precision. The Zephyrian defensive formation faced what appeared to be a single ship larger than anything that had ever existed in galactic space. The quantum disruption cannons of all 12 vessels fired simultaneously, their combined output channeled through the connecting obsidian streams into a single coherent beam that tore through space itself. The focused energy created a temporary rift in dimensional structure that destabilized the physics holding the enemy formation together, the Zephyrian. Ships simply ceased to exist as their atomic bonds were disrupted at the quantum level. The defensive cluster that had seemed impregnable moments before was reduced to expanding clouds of elementary particles in less than 10 seconds. Admiral Vex Korath watched the destruction of his fleet from the captured command vessel and experienced something his species had never encountered before: total defeat by opponents they had dismissed as primitives. The impossible had become reality, and the hegemony's era of unchallenged expansion was ending. Lieutenant Commander Foster completed the capture of the last functional Zephyrian ship in the outer system. His fighter squadron had disabled the vessel's engines and weapons while keeping its crew alive for interrogation. The aliens who had expected easy conquest were now prisoners of the species they had come to enslave. President Santos addressed the world from the White House as news of humanity's victory spread across Earth. The celebration was tempered by the knowledge that this battle represented only the beginning of a larger conflict that would determine the future of galactic civilization. Citizens of Earth, we have achieved the impossible through unity, preparation, and the courage to stand against tyranny, she declared. The Zephyrian hegemony came to our system expecting surrender, but they found humanity ready to fight for our freedom and the freedom of all sentient species. The broadcast was transmitted throughout known space using captured Zephyrian communication arrays. Every inhabited world in 17 star systems received Earth's message simultaneously. Species that had lived under alien occupation for decades learned that resistance was possible and that the hegemony could be defeated. Dr. Grant's analysis of captured technology revealed possibilities that would reshape human understanding of physics and engineering. The Zephyrian systems were advanced, but they were also rigid and inflexible compared to Obsidian technology that could adapt and evolve through use. Admiral, we now possess the technological foundation to liberate every world the hegemony has conquered, she reported. Our Obsidian systems can be mass-produced using resources available throughout the solar system. We can build a fleet that will free the galaxy. Morrison studied strategic projections that showed the scope of the task ahead. 17 star systems controlled by an empire that had never experienced serious defeat. Billions of enslaved beings who had lost hope of freedom. A military machine that would adapt and improve after learning from its failures in the soul system. But humanity now possessed advantages that would only grow stronger with time. The Obsidian technology could be scaled up to any level required. Earth's industrial capacity was expanding exponentially as hidden facilities revealed their true capabilities. Most importantly, they had proven that the hegemony was not invincible. Captain Stone received orders to begin the next phase of operations. His ESV Nightfall would lead an expedition to the nearest hegemony-controlled system, carrying the message of Earth's victory to enslaved populations while gathering intelligence about enemy defensive preparations. All ships, prepare for extended operations, Stone commanded. We are no longer defending our home. We are taking the fight to the enemy and liberating every world they have conquered. The Obsidian fleet formed up in Earth orbit, their black hulls reflecting starlight like liquid metal. Each vessel had been upgraded with technology learned during the battle and equipped with manufacturing systems that could produce more Obsidian ships using raw materials available in any star system. Admiral Morrison transmitted the final message of the Sol System campaign to all human forces throughout space. The Zephyrian hegemony expected Earth to surrender, but they have learned that humanity does not yield to tyranny. We have won this battle through preparation, courage, and technology that they could not understand or counter. The transmission reached every human settlement from the inner planets to the edge of the solar system. Hidden facilities that had supported the Obsidian fleet revealed their true scope as Earth's civilization emerged from decades of careful concealment. The galaxy will learn that freedom has a name, and that name is humanity, Morrison continued. We will not stop with defending our own world. We will liberate every species that suffers under hegemony rule and ensure that no sentient being lives in slavery. The Obsidian Armada began its departure from Earth orbit as the first waves of liberation fleets prepared to carry humanity's revolution to the stars. The age of Zephyrian dominance was ending, and the era of human expansion was beginning. Earth had expected invasion and prepared for war. The hegemony had expected surrender and found defiance. Now the galaxy would learn that when humanity fought for freedom, they fought not just for themselves, but for every species that dreamed of independence. The war was far from over, but the tide had turned permanently. Humanity would emerge from the Sol System not as refugees or survivors, but as liberators carrying the promise of freedom to every corner of known space.